Greetings everyone. Hope you're all doing well, being conscious of your reality shifts. Today I want to go through some rock bands and point out the difference between people experiencing the Mandela Effect and people who aren't. Now I think most people who are aware of these musical groups that I'm about to start with would agree that the word "the" was always part of their name. We're going to start with the Beatles. I think most people would agree that the Beatles has always been the name of the group since the 60s. They've always had the as part of the name of their rock band. And you can see it on their album covers, like this one, 1965 Help, says The Beatles on the cover. Just as the Rolling Stones have always had the in the name of their band, as can be seen on this album cover here, the Rolling Stones, and The Who, which can be found on their album covers as well, and The Doors. Now, The Doors is interesting because I own, here's The Doors here, always been The Doors. I thought I owned every single Doors album. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Not this live one, but this one. And then Jim died in 71, July 3rd. And I thought the band broke up. I was in a reality where other voices in Full Circle didn't exist. I would have owned these. Always loved the Doors music. Started listening to their music when I was a teenager. Always loved the Doors music. I was never aware of these until last year, so that was mind-blowing. But moving along. We're going to go with the Grateful Dead. We're going to start with the Grateful Dead, and we're going to move along, and I'm going to bring up 8 different bands that I remember just as the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, and the Doors. I would have put money on the fact that these bands also had the in their name. People experiencing the Mandela Effect, many of them will remember the in these names. So this is not a voting video. Just leave comments down below what you remember, but in another reality where I have conscious memories from, where Sally Fields had an S on her name and Christopher Reeves had an S on his name, I remember the Grateful Dead. But you go look at their old album covers, Grateful Dead is all you will find. The has never been part of the band's name. Eagles. Those experiencing the Mandela Effect, many will say they remember the Eagles just as they remember the Beatles. But in this reality that our consciousness is primarily seems to be in, I mean, we're constantly shifting, in my opinion, through realities, and many of us are becoming aware of that now as the consciousness shift and humanity is kicking into full swing that the ancients knew was coming, that 2012 talked about. And the end of the world, well, a lot of us feel like our world did end in 2012, which is quite incredible. So anyway, always been Eagles. I remember the Eagles. Moving along, I would put money on the fact that you would find the Eurythmics on the album covers, but no, just Eurythmics. Always Eurythmics. This band has never been the Eurythmics. Many people experiencing the Mandela Effect would tell you that this group here has always been the Carpenters, the vocal duo. But no, always Carpenters. You go to their albums, they've always been Carpenters. They've never been the Carpenters. As crazy as that seems. Or as crazy as that is to deal with. So Goo Goo Dolls, always Goo Goo Dolls. Never been the Goo Goo Dolls. You look at their old albums, Goo Goo Dolls, Goo Goo Dolls. Now, there are some where you will find the Goo Goo Dolls. So this one's kind of odd because they go by both. They put the Goo Goo Dolls on the albums. They put Goo Goo Dolls. They use both. On some albums, you'll find the. However, the name of the band is Goo Goo Dolls. It's always been Goo Goo Dolls. Never had the in their name, but it is on some of their albums. So this one's kind of a mismatch of there's the on the albums, but it's always been Goo Goo Dolls. I've always known them as the Goo Goo Dolls. Never heard Goo Goo Dolls in my life, so that one's a if or maybe. That one's kind of an odd one, so I threw it in the middle. Moving along to the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees? No, always Bee Gees. Never been the Bee Gees. Bee Gees, Bee Gees, Bee Gees, Bee Gees, Bee Gees. Bee Gees on every album. They've always been Bee Gees. So if you remember the Bee Gees, you're probably experiencing the Mandela Effect. You're conscious of your reality shifting. The Dave Matthews Band, as what I always thought it was never the Dave Matthews Band. Always been Dave Matthews Band. Dave Matthews Band. Dave Matthews Band on this album cover here. So, there you have Dave Matthews Band. I would have put money on the fact that the was part of their name. Ramones. Anyone remember the Ramones? Always Ramones. If you remember the Ramones, then you might probably are experiencing the Mandela Effect. Because it's always been Ramones. Ramones on all these covers of albums here. And I'm going to leave you with Sex Pistols. Yes, always Sex Pistols. If you remember the Sex Pistols, you're probably experiencing the Mandela Effect. I remember the Sex Pistols. That's just what they were my entire life. Just like the Who and the Doors had the as part of their name, the Sex Pistols was a band in another reality where I have conscious memories of, but no longer that way. So, that's about it. Wanted to point this out to everyone. When I have more time, there'll be more videos coming. There'll be different types of videos coming. Some people say that, oh, you're still stuck on the changes, and I moved beyond that a long time ago. No, I'm not still stuck on the changes. I will not stop documenting my memories. For those of you who have problems with me doing videos showing the changes, but I've gone way beyond the changes, and you're going to see that coming out in future videos. I spend many hours every day looking into lots of different stuff. This consciousness shift is huge. I've been talking about the coming consciousness shift in humanity since 2011. That's documented on my channel. Even though I had a financial channel back then, and for those of you who think that my name is Moneybags because this is all about the money, well, go look at my financial videos. I have 700 of them on the channel, and maybe you'll understand why my name is Moneybags73, because I was talking about bags of gold and silver money since 2009 on YouTube. So, I mean, this stuff is just constantly coming at me. I only do this for the money, and, obviously look at my name and, all this just ridiculous talk. And I usually don't point this out, but I just had it on my mind because I just received a whole bunch of comments along those lines. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Just wanted to clarify that for some individuals who seem to have a problem with what I'm doing. But yeah, we're moving along with this, everybody. This is such an incredible time right now. Man, every day is an adventure. Just extremely positive. The Mandela Effect has been an extremely positive thing in my life after the initial shock wore off. And I hope that others of you who might, this may be new to someone listening to this now. Maybe you found out about this the other day and you're just like, what is happening to my world? Take a deep breath. Do not lean towards fear. There's nothing to fear here except fear itself. I do not believe this is Satan. I mean, I think that comes from an old belief system where, the church told you that everything was either God or Satan. Well, I don't believe this is Satan. This is a consciousness shift that was going to be happening. The ancients knew this was coming. This is an incredible time. There's a lot happening. So just take a deep breath, everybody. Do not try your hardest not to come from a place of fear with this, because this is happening. As hard as it is to understand and believe, this is happening. I mean, there's people saying, well, how arrogant are you to say that, you You have a perfect memory. You think you have a perfect memory? You're an arrogant person.